So the way tenure works at an institution like UNC is that it really begins in the candidates department, where the members of their department perform a rigorous evaluation of that person's work that they have conducted from the time they arrive at the institution through the period of time that they come up and are considered for tenure. Usually it's about 4 or 5 years if you come as a beginning assistant professor. And part of that rigorous evaluation comes in terms of evaluating the person's teaching and their contributions to the classroom, their contributions to service and how they have served the university community, as well as the broader community here in North Carolina. And then importantly, it evaluates the candidate's scholarship. And the way that that is done is not just by a person's peers in their particular department, but we solicit letters from what we call outside experts from our institution to evaluate that candidate and determine whether their scholarship is deemed worthy of tenure and basically keeping the person here at the institution. And when we go out and solicit those external letter writers to evaluate that, these people are senior people in their field. They are people who are not, they're considered independent evaluators. They can't be people who have personal relationships or connections. They have to be essentially strangers in a sense, that they don't have any sort of personal connection to the candidate that might in any way bias their ability to evaluate the person's scholarship on its own merits. And that's a really important component because, you know, imagine being in any sort of position outside of the academic realm and having 4 strangers be approached to evaluate whether or not you are good at your job. That's essentially what the tenure process entails. And those people are not just anybody. They are usually, we require that those letter writers come from people who are at higher ranks. So people who have already achieved the rank of tenured professor or somebody who's a full professor. They have to be at peer institutions. So institutions that are on the level of UNC or above. Or who are in programs that certainly match UNC in terms of its caliber in your particular area. And basically they evaluate whether or not the candidate is somebody who has established a national or international reputation, who is basically somebody who is on their way to becoming a world leader in their particular area of research. And again, imagining what that looks like, if you imagine any other walk of life, to think of people writing letters of recommendation who are total strangers and saying you are the best in the world at what you do, that is essentially what tenure entails. And so all of that material comes back to the department. The department and members who already have received tenure will evaluate the materials that come in, and they are the sort of the first pass. They take a vote of whether or not you should receive tenure in that department. And then from there, it goes on up to higher levels where that candidate's materials and all of the previous levels are evaluated in light of the earlier level. Until it gets all the way to the APT, the Appointment, Promotion, and Tenure Committee. And at that point, we review everything, and we also take a vote on whether or not this person should receive tenure or not.